to virtualbox.org. Now, VirtualBox is a piece of software that is called a hypervisor software, and this allows you to actually run virtual machines on your own computer. Now, I'm not going to get too deep into that because that's a topic for a different lecture, but we're going to download it and you'll understand how it works. So we're just going to click this big Download 6.0 button, and I'm running a Windows computer, so we're going to download it for Windows hosts. And you can see down here at the bottom, it's already running. So we're going to go ahead and just let that finish, and then we're going to go into the installation. Now that's finished. In Chrome here, I can just click this button, and it's going to go ahead and run the installation for me. Now, what we can see here is the typical when you install a software, welcome to, in this case, Oracle VM VirtualBox. We're just going to go ahead and click Next. It's going to give us the ability to actually determine what we want to install. We want to install everything, so we'll go ahead and click Next. It's going to give me a couple more options. I typically turn these off, just personal preference. Next. Now it's going to give a warning because it needs to actually add on to your network adapter. This again, not a huge deal. You just may drop network connectivity momentarily when this install happens. So we're okay with that. We'll click Yes. And now that we've done everything, we'll click Install. It's going to run through, it's going to install. And pretty easy. Now that we're done, we're going to go ahead and we're going to launch it by leaving that checkbox checked. And there we have it. So now we have VirtualBox installed. I'm going to minimize this. And we're going to create our new VM. It's going to be very simple. So basically from this configuration, we're just going to do new. Very simple. It's going to give us the information we need to create the virtual machine. So we're going to call this Windows Server 2019. Pretty special. Then we're going to choose the operating system here. Now, it's very possible, depending upon the version of VirtualBox that you have installed, it may not include the most current Windows operating system. Not a big deal. If your operating system's not there, you can really just choose Windows Server 2016 is perfectly fine, or you can choose other Windows. I'm just going to choose 2016 because it's the closest. Then we'll do Next. Now we're going to tell it how much memory we want to give, and this is really the RAM memory, or the random access memory. So what we want to make sure that we do is we need to make sure we save enough for our operating system as well. And what you can see here is right now it's set at 2048 or 2048 megabytes, which is 2 gigs. And you can see the maximum I can set it at is 16 gigs, which is the 16,000 megabytes. And you can see the nice little graph here that kind of goes from green to orange to red. And this is warning us that we're starting to use up more memory than we should within our operating system. So what's going to happen here is when I determine how much memory I want to give this guy, it's going to take that memory from my currently running operating system. So I'm running Windows 10 on my computer. It's going to take that memory from the computer and give it to this virtual machine. So I have 16 gigs. We really can do this with 2, giving it to the virtual machine if you want. I'm going to give it 4 just so it runs nice and smooth. So we'll go ahead and click Next. And now it wants us to create a virtual hard disk. So again, I don't want to go too deep into virtualization, but we need to create a hard disk for this virtual machine. And it's really just going to be a simple file. So we'll leave that selected and click Next. And we're going to set VDI because this is the VirtualBox default image. And we'll click Next. We want it to dynamically allocate. That means basically the drive will grow as we need it to grow. And then we'll click Next. And now we select what size we want it to be. 50 gigs in this case is more than enough. So we'll click Create. And there you have it. Our VM is now created. So there's a couple of things we're going to have to do, but for the most part, we've completely created the VM. So now if I want to go in and edit any of the pieces, I can click Settings, and we can go through and edit whatever we need to. So the first thing I want to go through and edit is storage. And what you can see here is we have our hard drive here, and then we have this It looks like a CD because that's exactly what it is. It's a DVD drive or CD drive. So what I want to do here is, now I want to mount that ISO that we downloaded in the previous lecture. So from here, we're going to choose the virtual optical disc. And I have one on here called ISOs. And that's where we're going to go. So we're going to do ISOs. And I'm going to choose the Windows 2019 one that we downloaded. Now you see I have a lot here, but this is the one I want. The EN Windows Server 2019 that we downloaded in the previous lecture. So we're going to go ahead and select that guy. And you can see now he's associated. So that's perfect. I want to look at networking. There's not much we have to do here. By default, we can give our virtual machine 4 adapters. We're only going to give it 1, and we're going to choose NAT because that's going to work just fine for our purposes. So perfect. So we'll click OK here. And now when we're ready, we can go ahead and click Start on our virtual machine. It will launch a new window, which is our virtual machine, and you'll see we'll actually start to go through the installation.